talk about going back and forth between the standards and then assessment. And it sounds like what prevents us from being innovative in our classroom isn't maybe the standards, but it's the assessment and possibly the way in which we are assessing our students. Give me one second. So I guess the question is, how do I motivate teachers and my colleagues to be innovative? Because I think if you're looking at it from an assessment point of view, as a teacher, it is easier to give the multiple choice exam and run the Scantron and then get the answers. So when you're looking at promoting innovation in your classroom, what can I do, or what has your research shown to help transition or introduce colleagues to this idea of project-based learning, saying instead of doing the multiple choice test at the end of the unit, how do I bring project-based learning into the unit, for example?
Yeah, I think, maybe I wasn't clear, but I think, we're really talking about more of a trickle-down effect. So if we're talking at the state level, we have these new types of state-level assessments that will then, in a sense, force the local assessments to change as well. Part of the issue, I think it comes into teachers teach the test. So we have these state level assessments that are multiple choice based, they're fact regurgitation based, the short answer based. There's certain topics that are always on it. So a lot of times teachers teach towards that test. I'm not saying it's bad, because in today's high stakes, evaluative system, every teacher wants to have a high evaluation. The principals want to have high evaluations. The schools and districts want to have high evaluations. So they feel the need to teach towards that state level test. One of the articles that we read by Janet Looney said that teaching the test isn't necessarily bad, but you can resolve that problem by making the test worth teaching too. So if we have a state level test that deals with more of this innovative thinking, inquiry based, kids kind of developing their own ideas and having these performance type assessments, whether it's portfolio, whether it's rubric based and not multiple choice, then that might hopefully in some sense force the local districts to start doing that as well, because that's what the state level test is.
And if I can add to that, intrinsically, I think teachers have that in mind to be creative and use those things. Just like we talked about with the Maker's Fair, we intrinsically want to build, create, and use that type of methodology with our students. We're all taught those practices, but we actually can't implement them so often because we are teaching to the test. Yep. So when you say, Craig, how are we going to get colleagues on board? Well, it's the fact that that's kind of where we're already at, but we're hindered by those tests. And that if, to get them on board, all we have to do is be able to start doing that and have that as our focus. And then it becomes our culture. And yes, I'm sure there's people that will be resistant because they've worked this way for so long. But again, just like with everything, the test has become a culture for us. So we've all started to learn to teach the test. Whereas if we made innovation and creating it and making it's easy to start practicing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you guys have any idea, like, if we did do this? I mean, obviously it's a good idea. What kind of time frame? Is this something that would take, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah, we did not think about that.
Like a generational thing?
Yeah, I don't.
It probably would be. I mean, I would think it would be a generational.
I think we kind of, like, at the beginning,
I think we lost Kristen.
Yeah. No, that was something we talked about. We, that's what we were kind of stuck on. We said, we want to have this type of change in state level assessments. As of right now, we don't necessarily have a great recommendation. I mean, we probably have terrible recommendations for what it might look like. I don't know, but we know that it's probably some kind of more performance based. It might be some kind of portfolio, and it might be more of like a generation of a year long type thing. So it wouldn't be like necessarily a week long test. I don't know.
Right.
Well, remember, if it's a bad idea, It worked.
It's our worst bad, or best bad idea.
It worked in Argo. Right?
That's right.
It worked in the classroom. I guess if I could play a little bit of devil's advocate.
Go for it.
What we're talking about. We basically have innovation here, and what we have right now with our standards is basically here. And what we're saying is that because our standards are here, it makes it harder for us as teachers to have innovation. Are we just saying that it's just an ideal, basically, to bring in this innovation as a learning ethic, that because we are confined to the high-stakes testing, because we are confined to these types of state testing, that this is just the way it is? I mean, I guess I'm playing devil's advocate. Is there a way to bring innovation in to where we're still meeting the needs of our students by making sure that our evaluations are high and that they're still scoring well on these tests? Is there still a way to bring innovation working with the current constraints of what we have right now as teachers of these types of tests?
Sure, there is. I think teachers are doing it, but those are the teachers, in my opinion, or that I see, that have to not care about the evaluation portion. And I'm not saying not care, but they have to not put that as their focus for their pay, for their performance evaluations, and just kind of say, nope, I don't care about any of that. All I care about is the student's growth, and I'm going to do it in this way. But it's so hard to do. I mean, you just think of our culture. There's young teachers, parents. I mean, we all have our own needs, and so to think that we're not going to think about evaluations and performance is kind of unnatural. But I think the teachers that say, I don't care about that, I think they do it. And I think it's great because they do end up getting the results. It may not be the first year, it may not be right away, but when they start to throw that out of their mind, I think it becomes less of a hindrance.
And I guess I just wonder, though, do we sacrifice the supposed content knowledge these state tests are trying to assess when we bring in innovation to the classroom? I mean, to me, it seems like you could dovetail it. I guess that was my question, because are we sacrificing innovation to make sure that they can fill in the Scantron? Or if we just go to innovation, then
are we sacrificing content?
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's the part where I'm struggling is I don't see them as two separate entities. I see that they see them as linked, and I'm just trying to see, is there a connection there, or am I missing something from?
Right. Well, I think if we use the standards, because we're still saying we're going to use the standards, so we'll achieve those goals or those pinnacle, top points, because we're essentially still using the standards. We're just not assessing them in that rigid way.
Okay.
I want to come in with one idea that has sort of been percolating through all three of these conversations. We've talked about introducing new standards as means to drive change, but at the same time, we've also been talking about how the current standards in some ways hold us back. So I'm wondering, is there an inherent contradiction in talking about standardizing innovation, right? We can do certain things that are going to change the structures of schools and education on a district or school or nationwide level, but are these the things that the 2024 MAET cohort is going to be talking about changing when they get to their wicked problem projects?
Yeah, I would agree with
Well, I
that.
think we
Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, okay. What I think we were hoping to do was to focus on one area, and so when we looked at our innovation, we thought, okay, we're going to focus on the problem we thought was assessments, because we did talk about the content standards possibly being a problem. When we talked about the assessments, we were going to align them with the content standards because we wanted the kids to have some type of accountability for the content that they were learning, because we thought that if there was just innovation out there, then how do you know students have to learn a certain number of things every year, so how exactly would we assess that? And I think that the way that we were going to try to keep the standards in there and to mesh them together was to create such a rubric that was going to be able to allow the flexibility of innovation already there, but also offer kind of the content that they should know so that they're making improvements and you are able to make sure they're still accountable for learning certain things.
Amanda, did you want to add something?
No, I think Lindsay said that. Like, we did consider that. Like, this is a whole problem. James articulated it in a very, I mean, he basically said that if students create and they build something useful in the world, then that's all we need. Heck with the standards, heck with, you know, the assessments. If they're creating something that can be useful and viable, then that is, you know, all that is needed because that's how the world operates. So yes, I definitely agree that we struggled with saying both of them, but we thought that was too much to tackle right now. We thought that was too wicked of a problem.
It's something James just kind of added, and he said one of the things that we've identified is that you still have to have content mastery, which is where I think the standards comes in. It's just that idea of focusing on the assessment, I think, and how to get how to measure that content mastery is where you guys are kind of like looking at and focusing on. Very good. Spencer, do you have anything final thought that was going to kind of wrap up because I think we're just about out of time?
No, I've really enjoyed listening to everything. I'm impressed with what you have all come up with, and I'm looking forward to diving into it with a little more detail.
Yeah, I just want to personally say I'm very impressed with the way things went. I would strongly encourage you to take a look at the back channel. Going forward here, we want you to comment on two other people's from two different groups' their blog posts to sort of give them some feedback. And then by the 21st, which is Tuesday, hang on, I'm sorry, yeah, Monday night, we want you to kind of make any revisions that you feel necessary to your post, and we're gonna, and I'll be taking a look at them, and I'll have you guys feedback by the time we meet next Friday. So, I just want to say you guys have done a fantastic job so far, and we're looking forward to next Friday, kind of getting all back together again to get that going. So I will have this video up on the session 4 page. I'm going to try to